And so you're sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term happiness by not eating the donut or not smoking the cigarette or not looking at porn or not, whatever.
I feel like you've been listening to Bobby Kennedy. Those were the exact examples he said, where he was like...
Oh, I know. I didn't hear him say that. He just must be a smart dude.
Warning. This podcast is for entertainment only and not intended for medical purposes.
He was like, hey, the reason why we don't want all of our currency to be in the hands of others is like, what if you want to buy stuff in private, like cigarettes, alcohol, or porn? That's what he said. Yeah, exactly. Right? Because, you're right. There's something about this idea, and that's where we get a unique pairing of alcohol equals freedom. So then, if I'm free, I'll drink. And if I don't feel free, I'll drink to show that I'm free. And there's a lot of perverse logic that happens. Now, I run into a lot of people that they decide, all right, listen, doc, I need help to change my habitual drinking. It's just finally gotten to a point where I got to do something about it. But just look at the design that you and I are talking about, right? So you start out drinking moderately, you have a habit, and then through the external world, we just add stressor upon stressor upon stressor, and then your drinking moderately becomes moderate to heavy. So now you're drinking 3 to 4 to 5 drinks a night, and suddenly you start to really get these neurological adaptations that are really problematic as time goes on, right?
Yep.
And so then you come in and you're like, doc, I need help to change this, and then it absolutely feels impossible for most people. And why is that? I haven't seen a good plan for this to date. I have not seen a good facilitated plan, and somebody should come up with it. I might do it.
To switch what? To get out?
Yeah, to switch from I've been relying on daily dose of alcohol to help me feel like everything I'm doing is worth it, to take away the dread of tomorrow, to help me relax from what I just went through all day, right?
Yep.
To make it so I don't have to think about the fact that my future looks like it has less purpose than it should, right? Than I know.
Yeah.
Than I know I'm capable of.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah. Well, so if I try to simplify, what you're saying is a person's lifestyle isn't working that well, so they use alcohol to cope with the fact that their lifestyle's tough.
Yeah.
And to fix the problem, you'd have to fix the lifestyle, and that ain't an easy fucking fix.
Well, see, that's what's so amazing. It's like we assume the person's lifestyle is a problem, right? But if I displayed some of these people I work with, their lifestyle is exactly what everyone on Instagram wishes their life was. Their life is way better than most Instagram people. And so then it's like, oh, really? So who's going to fix that person's lifestyle? Right? They have a totally intact family with terrific children that go to the best schools, and they're outperforming all their peers. They themselves are extremely physically fit for their age, and they're in multiple clubs. They have an infinite amount of friends that are group texting them to come meet them for more drinks and more parties and more adventures and get on my plane and come to my club and go to my thing. And it's like, oh, really? What does that guy's life need? Right? Well,
yeah.
He needs something because he's sitting there telling me, help! Right? And so then, I think we all think of, I'm guilty of doing this. I started by saying oh yeah, there's a person and then they have these stressors and they end up alone with no friends, blah, blah. That's what we all end up focusing on. But the part I find super intriguing is actually not that guy. It's this other one who is the baby Elon Musk, right? The entrepreneur, the business executive, the I don't know, the artist, the totally successful musician, and on it goes. And it's like, what do you mean these people are also engaged with navigating life through these very quick solution adaptations, as opposed to your Uberman? No, who was the guy who said that term, the
Ubermensch, Nietzsche.
Ubermensch. Yeah, your version of this perfect person. What was his perfect person?
Nietzsche's?
Yeah. Did they drink, by the way? Just wondering.
Nietzsche died of syphilis.
Oh. But what about his Ubermensch? Like,
I don't remember. It's been a while since I read Nietzsche, and it's a complicated thing. It's more like a person who really dives into life in terms of goes for it, lives meaningfully, and lives in the flow of meaning and soul and art, and does life well. It's probably the opposite of the boring person, the boring sheep.
Oh. Well, by your description, I like this guy.
And he probably drinks. That would be my guess.
Dude, exactly, based on what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Isn't this amazing? Like, I think the future of this is going to be so delightful. I totally can see the answer now. And it's just we just need more metrics, more daily feedback of exactly how much it is that you consume, where do you want to go to, based on what is it that you need specifically. And we need to get rid of all of this kind of idea that addiction is a mythological property that comes and we can't understand it because it's somehow tied to genes. That is another term that's become mythological, and the genes become methylated, which that nobody knows what that means. And so then we have these broken pathways, and so somehow one must figure out abstaining for a year while your neurotransmitters upregulate another just mythical state no one understands. And then during this time, I don't know what you're supposed to do during this time. Hop in a circle, start playing the kazoo, something. And then when it all gets to a place, then you can go back to rejoicing like you're in college, and you'll drink, and it'll be wonderful and fantastic, and you will no longer be a habitual drinker who then has distorted sleep, and you're feeling just like the taxing thing of life. Not true. Right? You're after a year, lots of things will become super high functioning, like all of your organs and your cells and everything will work very well if you take great care of yourself. But then it's you actually don't get to drink irresponsibly the way you did in college, because everything has changed. It's the collagen in your skin is different in the same way that your cells process alcohol differently. And that part is really hard to understand. Then what do we do? Right? What do you think, good sir? I'm just ranting. I'm ranting.
I'm trying to simplify. So let me think aloud and see if this is true. If I try to taking something that's getting confusing and simplify it, maybe addiction and just general misuse of alcohol or donuts or anything is just as simple as a person who doesn't have good impulse control.
Yeah.
And donuts, if you don't have good impulse control for donuts, you can eat one donut, and then you eat two, and then you eat three. But then after 3 or 4 or 5 donuts, eventually the reward, you're like, I don't want any more donuts. But alcohol, if you don't have good impulse control, after one drink, your impulse control gets worse. because that's what alcohol does.
Yeah.
And then after 2 drinks, it gets even worse.
Yeah.
And so it's a slippery slope in a way that nothing else is.
Yeah, that's good.
Whereas everything else, like donuts, porn, it's like after you use porn once, you don't want to use it again. But after you drink 1 drink, now you want the second one, and your impulse control is even less.
Yeah, it doesn't satiate. It's harder to satiate, right?
Yeah, that's true. Donuts start to satiate, where alcohol... Well, maybe that's one different between, like, me, the way I use alcohol. If I... Like, when I have 2 drinks, if I quickly right now had 2 drinks,
yeah,
I get to a state that's the optimal state. Yeah. It's a nice buzz, and that's where I want to get. So in some way, if I had 2 drinks, if I took 2 shots of vodka right now,
yeah,
boom, I've sort of satiated what I'm looking for. But that's not true of people. Some people don't have that experience.
Absolutely.
I think what they're doing with alcohol is slightly different than what I'm doing. Is they're doing this like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna fucking let loose.
Yeah.
And there's sort of, that doesn't really have a ceiling. There's sort of, the sky is the limit on that.
Yeah, those are the guys that will drink all the drinks. How many?
Yes.
Until they're cut off, kicked out, it's all gone, something like that, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I like what you're saying, man. Yeah.
But I've always had very good impulse control, and before I drink and during when I'm drinking, I have this like, I'm only gonna do what's gonna be best for me now and best for me tomorrow. And okay, I'm starting to get buzzed. All right, I'm gonna slow down right here. And my impulse control remains even after I've had a few drinks.
Awesome.
Where,
right? Yeah, where? Sorry.
Whereas the dude who has trouble with alcohol, they don't have, their impulse control already is a little shaky, and I think they look to alcohol to be like, fuck it. Like, fuck impulse control.
Yeah.
Fuck anyone controlling my impulses.
Yeah.
I'm going to let my fucking impulses fly.
Yes. Perfect. That's it. Okay, so now I think if we did enough detriment to you, we could screw with your impulse control. It might take a while, but we'd have to take things from you and add things that you don't want. We had to put you in a world where you don't feel this level of psychological control, or I don't even like that term anymore. But we could do things to you, stress you out specifically, make your future look hopeless and make it look bad for the people you care about, right?
Totally.
You know, we could do that, and you might actually start having an internal world that looks more similar to these other fantastic human beings, right?
For sure.
So imagine if we take this person whose impulse control in this specific area, because as we point out, many of these people's impulse control is superior to everyone in their field, right? They have risen to the top. Their ability to delay and stay focused on task is next to none, right? It is second to none. They are awesome, but then in this one area, they're just like, wait a second, I need some more information, some data. I need real-time data reminders as I have the drink, when I'm starting to have this slippery slope happen, so that I can focus on tomorrow. How do I feel that way? And it's like, what would be a thing that wouldn't feel like it's imposed on you? Because as you point out, the crucial dilemma is part of this impulse control is to reject the oppressive forces.
Totally.
Like, society said it, my doctor said I shouldn't drink, my wife is on my ass because she thinks I'm out with the boys, and on it goes, right?
Yep.
And so, like, I think some type of a real-time, just like if you had a screen that would just post all of your important data, and as you drank, it would just give you a full real-time readout of what that's starting to look like. Right? Like, this is you now, the next 8 hours and 12 hours, and you just have like a real-time, like you could see it. Do you think that would help?